The time has come to talk about the Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8 for Fuji-x mount. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing good. This is Chris. Today I'm going to be comparing the Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8 to the Fujinon 16 to 55mm f2.8 because it is the closest from Fuji that I can compare it to. I could do the comparison with the Tamron 17 to 70, but it becomes too much of a stretch because 50 compared to 70 is a little bit too much. It is way shorter. With 3 centimeters difference. I mean, 3 centimeters is a lot. And in terms of width, the diameter, we are shaving off 2 centimeters. So that tells you how small it is. The weight is extremely light as well. We're talking 285 grams compared to 655 grams for the Fujinon. So that's a difference of less than half the weight. And when you're trying to travel lightweight or you don't have a lot of space, this is obviously a no-brainer. The filter thread is 55mm versus 77 for the Fujinon. That means that we shave off 22 millimeters, and that is a lot because just the fact that you can travel with such a wide range of focal length in such a small package means a lot to, I'm sure, many of you. And that's probably why you're considering, should I get this one or should I get the other one? Well, to me, the answer is very, very simple. Do you actually need those extra 2 millimeters wide and the extra 5 in length? If you don't need that, I would go for the Sigma, honestly. If you need something compact and portable that does a great job, the Sigma, it really is a good way to go. The aperture is the same, maximum aperture of f2.8 and the minimum aperture of f22. The Sigma's got 13 elements in 10 groups versus 17 elements in 12 groups for the Fujinon lens. The Sigma has 7 blades in the diaphragm and the Fuji has 9. So you can see the Fuji is a little better in terms of components, but in terms of final quality, the difference is not that big. This Sigma is dust and splash resistant. Sigma doesn't call it weather resistant anymore, really, but it does the job fine, and you shouldn't have problems if you go out there in the dusty and or humid environment. In terms of minimum focusing distance, I wanted to do the tests and see in real life what happens. I'm going to show you in the test section later on in this video how they compare, but I can just tell you this right now. The Sigma can get really close to the subject. Okay, now that the specs are out of the way, let's talk about the things that I like about this lens personally. The first one is the fact that it is so small and so compact. I keep saying it, but man, if you have a chance to check this out in real life, you will understand what I'm talking about. I was taking photos in the studio with my son, and at some point I found myself going forward and backwards, and I kept moving around like this as if I had a prime lens, okay? And it took me a little bit of getting used to the fact that this is a zoom lens. That's how crazy it is, because it is basically the size of one of my prime lenses from Fuji, let's say the 33, and you can actually zoom with this thing. So that is the first pro that I really find to be a pro. The second thing that I like is the fact that it does handle chromatic aberration pretty good. I say pretty good because I didn't do any tests to push the chromatic aberrations out of images, but overall, the photos I've seen using this lens are good, and I didn't see any chromatic aberration in particular. And the other thing is the price, and it is not a small detail. We're talking $549 compared to $999. I mean, I'm sure you can find deals for cheaper for the Fujinon lens, but it is still almost half the price. So you're having pretty much everything, the weight, the size, the price. So yeah, that is a big pro, because if you're someone that needs to, or that wants to get a zoom lens that has a good aperture throughout and that has good quality, good size, that is small, but you don't want to sacrifice anything, I think this is good because the price goes along with it. Let's now talk about the 2 cons that I found. I really had to search for those, but they're there, they exist, okay? The first one is the fact that there's no aperture ring. As you know, I'm an aperture ring lover. I really like to have the physical ring on my lenses to change the aperture. Now, if you're someone that shoots, for example, in a studio, you don't necessarily care that much about that because you will set your aperture at the beginning of the shoot, let's say 5.6 or f8, that's what I usually do. And once you're set, you meter your light, good to go, and you start shooting. So that's fine. For some case scenarios, such as events, weddings, and so forth, I do like to have the physical aperture ring so I can change, for example, from a portrait, let's say I open at f2.8, and then there's a group shot right after, so you can just change and clack and put 5.6 or f8 or whatever, depending on the situation. But that is something that I really like to have on my lenses. Third-party manufacturers such as Sigma or Tamron, they don't provide this, so if that's something important, just know that it's not there. The next con is the build quality. It is not really a con because the build quality of this lens is great. It makes it very light, but I don't know if it sacrifices the actual overall quality and resistance, build quality of the lens. We know that Fuji is built extremely well. It is very resistant to anything. I've had them for years, like years, and I never had an issue with these. I don't know the Sigma, if like other lenses that I had in the past will start chipping off or peeling off over the years. That's something that time will tell, but it is, in my opinion, a better build quality overall if you go with Fuji. Now we're going into the samples section, which I'm sure is very interesting to you. For these samples, I use the same camera, X-T3, on the same tripod so that there's no differences. I set it to classic chrome, the photos are straight out of the camera, and the white balance is 5600 Kelvin. So it's daylight white balance. So that I'm trying to basically show you the photos as equally and unbiased as possible so you can really have a good idea as to how they look. In this first test, the purpose was to show you the depth of field difference between the two lenses. So I shot this in the studio. I used the light meter to have the exact same exposure, and everything was clinically the same, basically. Same aperture, same light, same ISO, same everything, so that you have a better idea. I tried to set the Fuji lens to 18 and to 50, which is not very easy because, you know, it zooms more and there's no markings, but that way you can see as close as possible how they compare. Check it out. In the next examples here, I went outside. Now you have to know that here in Switzerland right now, it's a little bit annoying to go outside because it rains flat out. It was snowing, but then it started raining. It's really cold and it's really hard to go out and shoot. So I did manage to go out and shoot a bunch of examples that show you how the two lenses compare. So I did put the Fujinon at 16 and 55, so you can see how much wider or narrower the Fujinon is compared to the Sigma. And it gives you an idea if you actually need that difference between the two lenses. Earlier, I was telling you about the minimum focusing distance, how much closer you can go with the Sigma lens, and it is actually surprising. So what I did is I did a test. First, zoomed in all the way, so 55 and 50, so you can see how close I went to the subject or how magnified the subject can be. And there you can see that despite the fact that the Sigma is not, doesn't go as much in terms of zoom, you can get way closer to your subject. By the way, I photographed a butterfly that I found last year in my attic that's dried and it's beautiful, so I used that. And when I used the zoom out, so 16 and 18, I took photos with my iPhone to show you how close the camera was to the subject with the two lenses. So that's my thoughts about this new Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8 for Fuji X mount. I believe this is a truly impressive lens. It is really small and it packs a lot of features that the bigger lens here from Fuji does too. Obviously, they're not from the same year. This one is starting to get a little bit old. But I mean, in terms of quality, Fuji is Fuji. You will for sure get good photos out of this thing. That's a no-brainer, that's for sure. But you will also get them from here. So it is up to you really which photos you prefer between the two. Let me know in the comment section below which one is best by your opinion. And I see you like always in my next video. Take care and keep shooting. Bye.